From Surfers Paradise, Australia, it's round 12 of the 2005 season as Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. The Champ Car World Series returns to Australia's Gold Coast for a little fun in the sun. In 1996, Jimmy Vasser won here on his way to a series title. Cristiano de Mata clinched his cup the year after his only Australia win. You can always count on a little drama down under, and today will be no exception. Reigning series champ Sebastian Bourdais has fought hard this season. He returns to Surfers Paradise, seeking a second Champ Car title. This could be Sebastian's crowning moment on the coast.
Welcome to Surfers Paradise on the Queensland Gold Coast of Australia. Just a wonderful place to go visiting, and particularly for motor racing. It's called Surfers Paradise, and you don't have to be a human being to really enjoy this place. It's just a wonderful part of the world. We're situated about 50 miles south of Brisbane on the Queensland coast. You can see the hinterland there in the background, the mountains in the background. It's just a wonderful place to go motor racing. And we've been here, this is the 15th year of the Lexmark Indy 300 on the Gold Coast of Australia. We've had, if you could believe it or not, we've had 14 races here and 14 different winners. There's a whole bunch of drivers this afternoon going to extend that streak to 15 different winners and one racetrack. An absolutely amazing place to go racing. I'm joined this weekend by Scott Maxwell, who's won a lot of races, a lot of different cars around the world. And Scott's going to be bringing us the action here from Surfers Paradise. It's just a great place to go racing, Scott.
It is. I mean, I'm excited to be here with you, Jeremy, but it has to be the most unpredictable Champ Car race of the year. Every year we have a lot of excitement and a lot of unpredictable winners in the past.
There have indeed, and there's a lot of changes this weekend in terms of the grid. We've got several drivers in and out. The car numbered 31, Ryan Hunter-Ray, who won this race, of course, a couple of years ago. He is not driving this weekend. The Rocket Sports, the second Rocket Sports entry alongside Timo Glock, has been filled this weekend by young Michael McDowell, 20 years of age. He won the Star Mazda Championship last year in dominant fashion. This year he's been driving in Daytona prototypes, but Scott Maxwell's a big step to a Champ Car.
It is. I raced against Michael this year in Grand Am. He did a superb job, but this is a huge step for him. He's a very talented young American driver, but this is a tough race to make his initiation. It's going to be a long race for him. A victory for him would be a finish.
And the other change this weekend, the car number 4 for the HVM team, and some changes with HVM. We've got Cedric the Entertainer. Has come on board he's a big star in North America. He's come aboard as a part owner of that team. Bjorn Wertheim, unfortunately, has run out of money. The Swede, who had a great race a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, he scored his best finish of the season with a 6th place run. He is out of a ride this weekend, and it's going to be Fabrizio Del Monte from Italy, who had a pretty difficult debut in the Champ Car Series with the Jensen Motorsport team at Long Beach, and he's been out of the series since then. He did do one test for the HVM team, but again, Scott Maxwell, Fabrizio Del Monte has been thrown in the deep end here.
It definitely is the deep end. You have to think this may be the toughest track of the year just to show up, and they added to that, they lost the first day because of the weather conditions. So these guys who haven't done a full year are really at a disadvantage today.
They are. He talked about the weather conditions. They're just about perfect right now, but as you say, it was raining heavily on and off throughout Friday. Very difficult conditions, and these conditions are well known to one of the other new driver in the field this weekend, and that would be Will Power. What a great name for a racing driver, Will Power. He's from Toowoomba in Queensland, just a few miles away from here. He's had a lot of success on this track in the past. He's won here in Formula Ford, he's won in Formula 3, he won a Honda Young Guns race in Honda Civic races Honda Civic sedans 2 or 3 years ago as well. But again, willpower, he's had a lot of racing in Europe, but now coming into the Champ Cars. The good news for him is he has circuit experience.
But what a tremendous debut, qualifying 11th in his very first race, right behind his teammate in Team Australia, Alex Tagliani.
Yeah, done a super job, has Will Power. He came in, he had a test with this team about 6 weeks ago at Portland, and they were very, very impressed. He's been racing primarily in Europe for the last 2 or 3 years. He's now been signed to a 3-year contract, and he's making his mark already this weekend on the Gold Coast. And we're getting ready now. We're just moments away from the start of the race. And what a great racetrack this is, Scott Maxwell.
Yeah, Jeremy, a very tough track on brakes and gearboxes and driver fatigue. It's very physical, a lot of heavy braking, a lot of heavy acceleration as well. And here we see on a track map, there's 2 or 3 really good places for out-braking here in corner 3 right there. Heavy braking going in, that's one. Now you're leading onto the back straight again. A long straight, you want to potentially dive inside people there. You're looking for mistakes at the previous corner, like these quick chicanes here. An error by your competitor and you can get inside him in the next corner. This is more follow the leader stuff, but leading on to this straight, the most important corner on the track, because it leads on to the longest straight, the final corner, and again across the start-finish line.
And the cars will reach almost 190 miles an hour before they get down there to turn 1, and it's a very dodgy place, particularly on the first lap.
Yeah, I mean, and again, historically, almost every year we see some type of incident in corner 1. Hopefully we'll avoid that this year, but I'm not counting.
No, I'm not counting on it either, Scott. No, we've had a lot of incidents there in the past. The good news, though, the weather is absolutely perfect. A massive crowd on hand this weekend. Up until just Thursday, Friday and Saturday, there's been over 200,000 people here on the Gold Coast for this event. Just a tremendous atmosphere, just a wonderful place to go racing. And it's just this afternoon it's going to be more of it as well. As you can see there, a great overhead shot here of the crowd, and they are just here in their droves. Let's have a look at the starting lineup for this weekend. On the pole for the first time in his career is Oriol Serbia. It's his 97th Champ Car start, and he came into this weekend knowing the only way he's going to keep his championship aspirations alive was to get as many points as he can. He will start alongside Sebastian Bourdais on the front row of the grid, so the status quo going into the race is equal. They both scored 1 point to go through. We get Mario Dominguez and Cristiano D'Amato. Great one by Dominguez. His teammate Paul Tracy back on row 3 of the grid alongside the young American A.J. Allmendinger. Row 4, the second of the Roo Sport cars driven by Justin Wilson. Then Jimmy Vasser once again doing a good job for PKV Racing. He's won here in the past. Alex Tagliani for Team Australia, the first of 3 cars from that team this weekend, alongside the rookie Timo Glock, who's had all sorts of incidents this weekend. Will Power, an excellent debut 11th on the grid with Rodolfo Lavin. Marcus Marshall, a third of the Australia cars. Nelson Philippe was quick on Friday, then Ronnie Burma, and here we see on row 9 Andrew Ranger and Ricardo Sperafico, and Fabrizio Del Monte making his debut for the CTE/HVM racing team. He's going to be in for a hard day's work here this afternoon, Scott Maxwell.
Yeah, and you can see them, they're getting very close to the green flag here. Apparently the temperatures in Australia are very, very warm today, so heat in the tires shouldn't be an issue. Heat in the brakes should not be an issue on this first lap.
And Bridgestone has brought a new tyre here this weekend as well, Scott. And it's awfully difficult going to these temporary circuits because, of course, there's no testing. You can't do any testing on these sort of tracks. But Bridgestone came in with a novel approach. They actually tested the tyre that they're running this weekend last year in one of the sessions. Great strategy by Bridgestone.
Yeah, and I think from what we're hearing, all the drivers are very happy with the tire. Problem with a race like this, as you alluded to, Jeremy, is that the track is changing constantly throughout the weekend. It usually is getting quicker and quicker every session, and they'll probably turn the race laps as quick as qualifying laps here in the race, just because, again, the track is getting better every session.
That is, you're right. There's often one of the things we do see here is that the lap times do tumble as the race weekend goes on, and particularly when, as you said, they have not really run much track time on Friday when it was wet for each of the sessions then. So more rubber is being laid down. Look at this huge crowd here on hand, and we're just getting ready now for the start of the motor race. Cars are lining up for the Lexmark Indy 300. Round 112 of this year's Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. There's Oriol Serbia and Sebastian Bourdais side by side. And it looks like Bourdais has got the jump going into the first corner. Oriel Serbia. Oh, he's got hit from behind there.
Oh, trouble already.
It's Cristiano Damada who hit the back of Oriel Serbia. Looks like he got carried away. And boy, I mean, Cristiano Damada, for a man of his experience.
And again, and you had to watch on that restart. Paul Tracy was up to looking at on the inside from 5th on the grid up to 2nd. I don't know if that's what made them nervous and they squeezed each other, but there's also one of the Foresight cars in the wall as well. I don't know if that's Dominguez. Looks like Tracy's leading.
That was a disaster. I think Bourdais got out well ahead in front. Here's a replay of the start. The two Foresight cars, and the blue car coming up on the inside. There's Justin Wilson. It's Cristiano Damada on the extreme right-hand side of the track, who just cannoned into the back of Oriel Serbia, the whole sitter.
Yeah, and I think the Foresight car that got cut up in that was just an innocent victim trying to avoid it, but got clipped.
Cristiano Damada, he's won here on this racetrack in the past. We saw a similar move from him on the first lap in Denver. You really wouldn't think somebody of his experience is going to make an elementary mistake like that. Maybe he just saw Tracy Kemp on the inside, was distracted, but he hit the back of Oriel Serbia there, and he was going a pretty fair rate.
Yeah, Cristiano's had a very frustrating season. I think he's looking for a good result today, but a bit of frustration there, just impatience, trying to get to the front early. Didn't pay off.
What a disaster. It's just a shame. There's Mario Dominguez limping his way back to the pitch. You can see extensive right-hand suspension damage on that car. He and Oriel Serbia, they had a fabulous battle for the pole yesterday in final qualifying. Neither of those two had a champ car pole position to his name coming into this weekend, and they end up being separated by just 5/100ths of a second. It was Oriel Serbia who got the job done on that occasion. There is Oriel being restarted. I think he's going to be lucky.
That car's not right, though. You can see him locking up there. Something's out of whack. He's probably bent something in the suspension.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be some damage to the rear suspension of that car, Scott Maxwell.
Unless they can get this fixed under yellow, I think he's out of the running. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, right rear definitely looks to be worried.
It's tracking funny. So the biggest beneficiary here is somehow Paul Tracy went from 5th to 1st, and of course Sebastian Bourdais is still a solid 2nd. So really, you've lost 3 of your top 5 right at the start.
I wonder when PT got past Sebastian Bourdais, because it seemed going through that first corner that Bourdais had the advantage. However, we could see Paul Tracy ducking to the inside. And it looked like he shortcut the course maybe in that first corner.
He did do that, and again, Paul Tracy is probably on cold tires your most aggressive and talented driver. Sebastian's a bit more patient, and maybe he got him into corner 2 when all the action was happening in the first chicane.
There is the Bell Micro car, the PKV racing entry of Cristiano Damada. Clearly his day is done. Another very, very short day for the 2002 Series champion. You alluded to it, as we see Oriel Serbia a little bit back. You see now the left rear is absolutely flat. There's Dominguez. He's got that car back to pit later, but he's going no further.
Too bad. I mean, we've lost 3 of our top 5 guys, but I see AJ Allmendinger and Justin Wilson 3rd and 4th right now. They've had a tremendous year, and these guys will be a factor in this race for sure.
Yes, so an awful long way to go, as you see there on the graphic at the top left corner of the screen. 57 laps will be this race. We are now on lap 2. Lap 1 has been completed, and there are Mario Dominguez guys. They're even going to start to work on that car. Mario is sitting hopefully in the car.
You can see the expression on the mechanic's faces that's over. But there again, here we see the restart. Tracy making an aggressive move down the inside. I think Cristiano Damada was distracted by the fact that Paul was coming up the inside and missed his braking point.
Exactly what it looked like to me. Here's again an onboard there from Oriel Serbia looking backward. And he just gets drilled.
Totally misjudged his
braking. They can see those two going out of the picture there. That was Paul Tracy pulling to the outside of Bourdais.
I would have loved to have seen what happened off camera there with those two. There's no love lost. They've been having a grudge match all year, and it looks like they may continue today.
As you say, they've had numerous run-ins this season, those two, and the last one, of course, was just in the very last race in Las Vegas, where there was an incident there when Tracy was leading and he was hit from behind by Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, and they're both a bit still bitter over that. I don't think they've sorted that one out entirely, but I think there's also a lot of respect between the two drivers, and they certainly have been class of the field.
No doubt about that. They have been very much the class of the field in every statistical category, pretty much. There is Oriel Serbia, though, and he's got back in the front. He has not, I believe, he has not lost a lap, so he is back on the lead lap. They've changed that left rear tyre, and now he and we have got to hope there's no more damage to that car.
Yeah, certainly he's out there this lap making sure with a new set of tires that everything's right. He may be back in. He's doing the old NASCAR strategy of trying to get the car repaired under yellow here. So he's going to do an exploratory lap right now. If the car feels fine, he'll rejoin at the back. Otherwise, he'll dive back in pit lane for more repairs.
There's poor Mario Dominguez. You can see the frustration written across his face. He's done a fabulous job this weekend, as had Mario, and his teammate Paul Tracy acknowledged that after qualifying, PT was full of praise for his young teammate.
Yeah, Mario did do a great job, and frustration is the word, because it's not every weekend you feel like you have a winning car. I think Mario this weekend might have had potential to block the win. His third Australian race in Australia.
And he has, he ran second in Australia. He won here before. He had that very strange win in the wet here 3 years ago, and he loves coming here. He has bittersweet memories. I mean, it was great to get his first Champ Car win here at Surface Paradise, but in those circumstances where it was really just down to a fortunate strategic call at the end of the day, he wants to get a real win here. He knew he had a good shot this weekend. There is Fabrizio Del Monte in the number 4 car. That's the CTE HVM racing car. Cedric the Entertainer come on board there with Keith Wiggins to be a new team owner. And Del Monte gets a quick pit stop under his belt, so a quick splash of methanol, top up that fuel tank. He'll be ready to go when we get ready for the restart. But again, just back to that Mario Dominguez thing, he's just done a super job this weekend, and he was so confident coming into this weekend, and now it's all gone wrong in the very first lap.
Well, hopefully Mario can bounce back. The next and final race of the year at Mexico City, his home crowd. He'll have a huge support factor there. He'll be hopefully pull off a win in front of his home crowd. That's his only consolation right now as he walks back to the motorhome, thinking 2 weeks down the road. But he's probably not in a good mood right now.
At least he's got one more race to look forward to this season. And okay, he's been battling. Mario Dominguez has been battling with AJ Allmendinger for 5th in the points table. The last 3 races, they've traded positions after each event, and coming in here this weekend, it was looking quite likely to change again. But this weekend certainly is going to be a bad news for Mario Dominguez. He's going to have to make up that lost ground when they go to his hometown, Mexico City, in 2 weeks' time. So here we are now, where you can see they're going down. This is the very quick chicane. Look at that, the right, left sequence there, the turn 7 chicane. It's a very spectacular place to watch. The main beach is right there on the right-hand side of the drive, just over the concrete wall and the grandstand. This really is a spectacular place to go motor racing.
And even though that's not really a passing zone per se, again, that sums up the Surface Paradise course, because you'll notice the cars will take a lot of curve. That's the fast line through there, and the drivers will constantly, throughout practice and qualifying, working on setup of riding the curves, getting the shock absorbers right and the spring settings right, so that it allows them to attack the curves and find that extra tenth.
Yeah, there you can see Paul Tracy is leading the pack with behind him Sebastian Bourdais, AJ Allmendinger in 3rd place, Justin Wilson is in 4th. He escaped that first corner drama. Here we're coming out now of the Lexmark hairpin. We're going to get the green flag. So with 3 laps in the books, we are racing once again. And Sebastian Bourdais looks like he's got a bit of a run on Paul Tracy coming down towards turn 1, Scott Maxwell.
Yep, Sebastian's using the cautious approach as he usually does, and he will stalk Paul for a couple laps, feel out the situation, and if he can stay with Paul, he'll plan his move well in advance.
It looked like he had a little bit of a run there, but as you say, discretion definitely the better part of valor. He lifts off and allows Tracy to maintain the lead at that stage in the race. And here he is now coming on to this another good overtaking point here, coming on to the Esplanade here. We're back on the seafront right now. It's a long straightaway. They get up into 6th gear down here at about 175 miles an hour. Then it's heavy braking again, going down into turns 5 and 6. But again, Sebastian Bourdais, this early stage, just content there to sit behind Paul Tracy and hope that PT is going to make a mistake. And this race 1 year ago, Tracy and Bourdais were again the 2 guys to beat here. There's this very quick chicane on board with AJ Allmendinger. What a great sight that is, Scott.
Wow, did they ever take a lot of curve there. But I think what you'll see in the first few laps here after that incident in the first corner, everyone's just going to get the tires up to temperature, get the tire pressures right, and see how the cars are working on full tanks. Because of the limited time they've had this weekend, they probably haven't done a lot of full tank running. The cars will change dramatically as the first stint goes on.
Again, coming through that next mile hairpin one more time. You can see how close those first two were. There is in third place the Rousport car, in fourth place of Justin Wilson, with AJ Allmendinger and Justin running in third and fourth. The yellow and white car of Allmendinger in third place. Wilson, his teammate, right behind him, and Alex Tachyon, the quickest of the three Team Australia cars. An excellent, he picked his way through that first corner. Mayhem emerged in fifth place ahead of ahead of Jimmy Vasser, Timo Glock, Will Power, Rodolfo Lavine and Marcus Marshall. So all three Team Australia cars running among the top 10.
Good show for the home team, but you can see Tracy and Bourdais, like it's been most of the year, pulled out a couple of seconds already on the Rousport pair of Allmendinger and Wilson.
The last time around, lap 4, the fastest lap of the race set by Paul Tracy, 1 minute 37.632 seconds. That relates to the pole time set by Oriol Servia, 1:32.616. So several seconds away from the pole time, but again, in the early stages of the race, the drivers just biding their time, letting their cars settle down, and then they'll look to make their moves later on. Here is Alex Tachyon running in fifth place, and he has been looking forward to this race all season long. Yes, he's a Canadian, but he drives for Team Australia. His wife, Bronte, was a Miss Indy contestant here a few years ago. He got married a couple of years ago, and he very much considers this his second home race.
Yeah, and I think he said it's his favorite track as well. So there's three good reasons for him to like Surfers Paradise. Just noticing Oriol Servia back in 15th, but set the sixth fastest lap. Last lap, so that means Oriol's car is probably working quite well. He's probably stuck in traffic, but he's still in this event, and he's going to be one to watch.
That's amazing. He should, number one, return such quick laps. Number two, been making great progress through the field. He's already passed 4 or 5 cars. He rejoined in 17th place, so he's got past Michael McDowell, who is in the pit lane at the moment. He's passed Del Monte, he's passed Sperafico, he's passed Andrew Ranger as well, and already up into 13th place. So as you say, Oriol Servia making moves. Here's the best place of the rookies this weekend, Timo Glock, but boy, he's an action-packed weekend. There is his teammate, that is Michael McDowell, the debutant this weekend, the second of the Rocket Sports cars, and they've got through a lot of nose sections this weekend. Timo Glock has been hitting a lot of these curbs on the chicanes, so particularly there's tyres there marking the chicane. So here's a replay. Oh wait, so the damage is done there to Michael McDowell's car. Again, that Rocket Sports team loses a lot of noses. They actually had to borrow a nose cone from Forsyth Racing yesterday to put on Timo Glock's car, and now another one damaged as well.
Yeah, and this is what I was afraid of with Michael in his first race, a tough track. Based on the damage there, it looks almost like he rear-ended another car, and he looks like the car is fine now. It was just a replacement nose cone. I'm surprised they had one to give him, because apparently Glock did 4 or 5 before the race even started.
They've been running low this weekend, and Timo Glock, for some reason, you can see some on several of the corners, there's tyres there marking either the apexes, or you're trying to keep the drivers basically away from the really dangerous bits. But Timo Glock had been catching a bunch of these. He's got through 5 nose cones before the race, and Dutch got through another one this morning as well.
It's quite unusual that one driver would do that, repeatedly, but that's probably just a sign of really aggressive driving and attacking hard into the chicanes.
I think that's a sense of frustration as well, because Timo, he's been quick just about everywhere we've been this season. He was a couple of seconds away from the pace in qualifying, and he's getting frustrated by that.
Yeah. And again, maybe it's also a result of the way the car is working. Perhaps it had an extreme understeer, and he's anticipating a turn-in and turning in early to compensate for understeer and flipping the brakes.
Watching from on board with Paul Tracy, we're on lap 7 here in Surfers Paradise. That is the McDonald's car of Sebastian Bourdais tracking him now, and in fact we should say that Bourdais is now officially the champion for this season, so he does become the first man since Gilles de Ferran to win 2 consecutive Champ Car World Series crowns just by starting a race. Sebastian Bourdais put enough points in the book that he cannot now be beaten, even if Oriol Servia were to win his final 2 races of the season. Clearly anything can happen in the Champ Car World Series. I think this is going to be a pretty tall order for Oriol to come from where he is now 13th after that first corner incident to win the race. So come what may now, Bourdais is assured of the season championship, and the last lap around, a new fastest lap of the race is set by Bourdais, and here we come now across the start-finish line to complete lap 7, and there goes across the line. Now goes Paul Tracy, and he takes the margin back, gets a new fastest lap of the race. I speak too soon because that has now been eclipsed by AJ Allmendinger in third place, and just the fastest lap of the race. So a 1:36.07 for Allmendinger and a 1:36.05. So Wilson goes a little bit quicker as well. The first 4 cars then all covered by less than 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, now that things are sorting themselves out, the Rousport pair are starting to claw their way back towards the leading pair of Bourdais and Tracy, who are probably bothering each other a bit and distracted. Bourdais is certainly going to be distracted with Paul.
He is indeed, and certainly those two Rousport guys were very confident coming into this race. Justin Wilson was a little bit frustrated after qualifying. He set only the 7th best time yesterday in final qualifying, but this morning he was quickest in the warm-up and was brim full of confidence coming into this race.
Yeah, and what a great season Justin Wilson has had this year, as is AJ Allmendinger, but Wilson with his victory in Toronto. I wouldn't rule them out of it for another one today. It's a very similar circuit to Toronto, the Surface Paradise Street Track.
So there is in 5th place Alex Tagliani, comes through that turn 7 chicane one more time, and he's running a very good race so far in the early stages of the Lexmark Indy 300. 7 laps in the books. Paul Tracy out in front ahead of Sebastian Bourdais and AJ Allmendinger. Here in Surfers Paradise, we have 8 laps now in the books. Paul Tracy leads from Sebastian Bourdais and AJ Allmendinger. Justin Wilson in 4th place, followed by Alex Tagliani, and then that man Jimmy Vasser, who is tracking the wheel tracks of Alex Tagliani. And this man Timo Glock, the best places of the rookies, not only for this season, but also in this race as well. But right behind Timo Glock is Will Power, making his Champ Car debut, and they're doing an excellent job for Team Australia. You can see it, here's the margin. This is the battle there between Timo Glock there in the primarily yellow-orange car of Rocket Sports Team, the DHL Global Mail car, running in 7th place. Hot on his heels, Will Power. And again, circuit knowledge, certainly Scott Maxwell is a great benefit, but for the man in his first Champ Car race, a remarkable effort.
It's a fantastic effort, and it certainly goes to justify Rocket Sports' faith in him by signing him for 3 years. So here we are certainly seeing a Champ Car star of the future.
And Will Power, he's made his name here in Australia. He won in Formula Ford, he won in Formula 3, he won in Formula Holden. He then went to make his career in Europe, spent a couple of years in Formula 3. He had some very good results over there for Alan Docking Racing. This year he's been racing in the World Series by Renault, and a couple of wins to his name as we go on board with Will Power through that very quick chicane. He's had a couple of wins in the World Series by Renault. He won at the Le Mans Bugatti circuit, and again in a brand new street circuit there in Bilbao. So he does have experience on these tight, twisty circuits.
And again, even though he does have circuit knowledge in the sense he's been to Surface Paradise a few times, these guys are world-class drivers, and you can overemphasize the advantage that provides. Because, I mean, Paul Tracy, Jimmy Vasser, these guys have been here probably more times than Will Power has. So it's even more impressive. This kid's keeping it off the walls. He's totally calm and confident. He's surrounded by traffic. Just doing a great job.
Doing a great job indeed, he is. And we're looking back now at another guy doing a good job is Nelson Philippe, who's running in 9th place. We just had a glimpse of his well-box car. I think it's slightly different. There is the car number 34 of Nelson Philippe. Slightly different livery on that car this weekend. See primarily black and white there, more than just the white from before. But Nelson Philippe qualified, did an excellent job on Friday in the wet, and his career best provisional starting position. He was up in the top 5. He wasn't able to keep that going in final qualifying, but certainly he's been a lot more competitive this weekend than he showed in that final session, and now he's able to run some good laps.
Doing a great job, but this whole group better look in the rears, because there's Oriol Servia, who's now up to 11th, and he is coming fast. He's got through a clump of traffic, and these guys soon are going to have to figure a way to hold Oriol off, because he's on a mission.
There is again, that's Rodolfo Lavi next in line in 10th place now, and he's tucked in behind Nelson Philippe, who in turn is tucked in behind Will Power, who in turn is tucked in close behind Timo Glock. So that's a big battle there, and as you say, Oriol Servia looming behind those two as well, having gotten past both Marcus Marshall and Ronnie Bremer in the last couple of laps. And again, turning some very quick lap times out is Oriol Servia.
Back to the leaders, and the one thing I am noticing, Jeremy, is that Bourdais looks so stable under braking. You see Paul moving around quite a bit, but Bourdais' car is definitely hooked up, and I think now he's just waiting for a mistake from Mr. Tracy and try to take advantage.
We're on board here with Paul Tracy, and this is a very physical racetrack here in Australia. It's both physically and mentally demanding, Scott Maxwell.
Yeah, and certainly physically, it'll beat the drivers up, but that also leads to mental fatigue. And where a lot of tracks you can make a mistake, you go up on a curb at the exit, no big deal. Here, one little mistake, tap a wall, you bend a wishbone, you're out of the race. So physical fatigue leads to mental fatigue, and it's very easy to find yourself on the sidelines.
And 1 year ago, I was talking about it earlier on, Paul Tracy and Sebastian Bourdais, they, once again, last year were the guys to beat here at Surfers Paradise. And on that occasion, it was Paul Tracy that made a mistake. About halfway through the race, he was pretty much looking in control of the race, and soon after a pit stop, he just glanced one of the walls, and that was the end of his day. And he, for absolutely sure, will not want to repeat that kind of a mistake here this weekend.
No, and that's just a lack of concentration. And any driver will tell you that truly great drivers just have an immense ability to concentrate and focus over a 2-hour race, and that minimizes mistakes. And Paul made an error last year. As I say, this year he's going to try extra hard to make up for it.
Across the top of the screen there, you can see the power to pass, the Cosworth power to pass, the push to pass. They have 75 seconds worth to use over the course of this race. And you can see there how much, on the top of the screen, how much the drivers have left to use at this stage in the race. Quite a few of them have used none at all. Paul Tracy has used 9 seconds worth. Sebastian Bourdais has used 22 seconds worth, and AJ Allmendinger has used about 10 seconds worth. Justin Wilson in the fourth place, only 5 seconds. So it's all part of the strategy in these races, and a lot to think about for the drivers.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Bourdais used 22 seconds. I'm not sure, maybe that's a couple times we've seen him very close to Tracy. That may be what he needs to sneak by Paul. So he's up another 10 seconds or so and sneak by on one long straight.
On board again now with AJ Allmendinger. He's just reset the fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 34.684, about 0.3 of a second quicker than the 2 leaders last time around.
That's significant. I mean, it's been back and forth by 1/10 of a second, but he got a 1/3 of a second on that lap, and he's starting to hold them in. I think again that's because Bourdais and Tracy are each other busy and just distracting enough where he's having clean laps and hauling them in.
Very interesting. I think looking at now at the order in which of the fastest laps at the moment in this early stage of the race, 12 laps about to be completed by the race leader. Paul Tracy has set the fourth. Well, right now let's go down the order. It's Allmendinger has the fastest lap of the race thus far, followed by Wilson and Tracy and Bourdais. Oriol Servia set the 5th fastest race lap thus far, now up into 11th place. 6th fastest race lap, Rodolfo Lavigne, who's just ahead of Oriol. And Lavigne this year has done a stellar job. Last year he was voted the most improved driver in the series. Even with that accolade, he was out of a ride at the beginning of the season. He came back just 3 or 4 races ago now with the HBN team. Has got 2 5th place finishes. He's really done a nice job for that team.
I don't think I'll ever make it as a talent scout, because a couple of years ago I never would have predicted that with Rodolfo, but I've got to give him credit. He's come so far in the past 2 seasons as a driver, and now he's a legitimate champ car driver, doing a heck of a job running with Nelson Philippe and holding off with Oriol Servia.
Great on-board footage here from AJ Allmendinger. I'll say that, of course, we go away, but the order after 12 laps, you can see there Paul Tracy ahead of Sebastian Bourdais, AJ Allmendinger, Justin Wilson and Alex Tagliani rounding out the top 5. And here is that battle. There is Oriol Servia close right up onto the tail of Rodolfo Lavigne. This stage to look at the power to pass, and Servia has been pretty frugal so far. He's only used 20 seconds worth, so it's about an average, I would say, or maybe a little bit more than some of the other guys. He hasn't used that much, so we are on board again with Oriol Servia coming down into the turn 8 corner. Certainly one of the overtaking opportunities of this racetrack, but not this time around. And Oriol Servia tucks back into line there, and this is a very tricky part of the race. He's got to be very careful, has to be patient and still turn some good laps. Just 13 laps in the books here in Australia.
I think Oriol probably will be rather aggressive on his passing maneuvers coming up. He wants to get through this midfield group as soon as he can, get close to the leaders, and hopefully maybe get a yellow to bunch it back up for him.
Yeah, that would be exactly what he needs. I'm sure you're right. And there's a long, long way to go. So Oriol Serbia is hot on the heels here of Rodolfo Lavin. Will he make a pass? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Just 13 laps in the books here at Surfers Paradise. Here's a replay of Nelson Philippe making a pass there on Will Power. That was a battle for 8th place. And look, right behind him there is Rodolfo Lavin and Oriol Serbia. And Serbia has made that pass, a great pass. He used the Cosworth Power to pass button to his maximum effect. Rodolfo Lavin tried to respond, but he left a little bit too late. And a very well-judged pass, it had to be said, by Oriol Serbia.
That was a fantastic pass by Oriol. He really just stuck it in there. Didn't give Rodolfo any option but to let him go through. And at the same time, Nelson Philippe made a nice pass on Will Power. Will gave him lots of room, though. You can tell Power is really using his head. Early in it was very easy for him to turn in or fight the corner. He let him go. He's trying to survive this race.
Here we're back to the two leads. You can see that Paul Tracy has pulled out a little bit of a margin over Sebastian Bourdais. Ironically, it's Sebastian Bourdais who's just retaken the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 34.388. That compares to Alberdinger's best of a 1:34.6. PT just a couple of ticks for the watch back has set the 4th fastest lap of the race behind Justin Wilson. There is Justin Wilson bounding through that very quick turn 7 chicane, and now Wilson pretty much on his own there. He's a couple of seconds in arrears of AJ Allmenning, his teammate, but a full 12 seconds almost ahead of Alex Tagliani, who's running in 5th place.
Yeah, those top 4 have left the field. Oriol Serbia, his next victim will probably be Will Power, as he's within a second of Will now, and we'll be looking for a triple by.
Yeah, there is Justin Wilson carrying the colours this weekend of both Western Union and Sandisk. This new sport team working very, very hard on the sponsorship stakes. They've had a lot of new sponsors on board this year. Western Union has been with them before. CDW has been on board, Intel, and here we see Sandisk as well for a handful of races here and there. But certainly both of these two new sport guys doing an excellent job here again with Wilson's teammate. This is AJ Allmenning coming now up towards turn 3 here, a sharp left-hander. Let's watch AJ turn around this racetrack, Scott.
Yeah, Allmendinger has to be not only one of the top talents, upcoming talents in the North American Racing Champ Car, but one of the more aggressive drivers I have seen in quite a while, especially at a corner entry. This guy attacks the corner. He's not your traditional break in a straight line and power through the corner. He loves to late brake and really manhandle the car. He's got a lot of natural car control.
Here's this battle for 5th place. It's led by Tagliani. There goes Jimmy Vasser, then Timo Glock, now Nelson Philippe. And here is Will Power now falling back a little bit to 9th place with Oriol Serbia right behind him. Then Rodolfo Lavin and Ronnie Bremer. Looking farther back, there is Marcus Marshall coming into view. And behind Marcus Marshall is Ricardo Sperafico in the second of the Dale Coyne racing cars. You can see a little bit of damage, it looks like, to the front left wing there of Marcus Marshall's car.
Yeah, he's also locking up that left front tire. I don't know if that's bodywork rubbing the tire or if he's actually got something bent.
Marcus Marshall's under a little bit of pressure. Of course, he's got a 3rd Team Australia car this weekend with Will Power, who's done an excellent job, and there's a lot of talk that maybe Marcus Marshall will not be back in this ride for next year.
Yeah, not necessarily an envious position for Marcus Marshall, especially at his home race. He's probably feeling a lot of pressure just because he's the local hero, and also now with Will Power coming in and showing so well. So it's a tough weekend so far.
But having said that, Marcus, he raced a couple of weeks ago at Bathurst, the fantastic, the legendary 1,000-mile race at the Mount Panorama Circuit, and Marcus did an excellent job there driving with Alex Tagliani, and he pretty much showed Tag the way around that place all weekend long. Here now on the pit lane is Marcus Marshall, so he gives up that unequal struggle with that battered front wing, and now the Walker Racing crew, Team Australia, will go to work and change that broken part.
Yeah, even though it's an early pit stop, obviously he was losing a lot of time with that damaged front nose, and they must be just within their fuel window now, so it's not going to cost them too much as long as they can stay on that lead lap. Yeah,
they should be able to make this pit stop, this race on 2 pit stops. Relatively early stop there, certainly though, for Rodolfo Lavin, and as well as he was running, I'm a little bit surprised to see Rodolfo in so soon.
The only thing I can think of is Rodolfo maybe felt he was getting held up in his battle and wanted some clear track.
Very good point, because he certainly had been turning some very quick laps, and even though he had been passed by Oriol Servia, he was maybe being held back a little bit also by Will Power. So come in and get that service done and try and turn some quick laps. There is Marcus Marshall rejoining with a new nose. Les Shannon and the boys have changed that. It took about maybe 25 or seconds or so. Not a bad effort.
Not bad at all, but what he's got to watch out for now on cold tires, and I think the leaders are probably not too far behind him, so he's got to really hustle it around this lap, try to stay on that lead lap as long as he can in case a caution comes out. Otherwise he's in trouble.
Ronnie Bremer also brings his car onto pit lane, so we're in now to the first round of regular pit stops, stopping on lap 16 and 17. It's going to be fairly dodgy to make it on a two-stop strategy. So 2 stops, 3 stops. We saw in Montreal where Timo Glock seemed to be completely out of the running, as we see Ronnie Bremer making taking his service there for Dale Coyne Racing. Good stop there by those guys, and away goes the Dane. But back to Montreal, and Timo Glock looked to be completely out of the picture. He stopped way earlier than the other front runners, but at the end of the day, with the way the cautions fell, that came back and it worked absolutely in his favor.
And I think if you're not running in the top 4 or 5, you're taking a chance, certainly, but you don't have as much to lose, so they're rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice, and there's the battle at the front of the field, still just a little bit, around about a second, maybe a fraction more between Paul Tracy there on the right of the screen and Sebastian Bourdais in the McDonald's car, trading fastest laps. They're going quicker and quicker each time around. As I said that as they come across the line one more time, actually it was the previous lap on which they were fast. There is no improvement this time around, but lapping around about 1 minute, high 1 minute 33 or low 1 minute 34 second range, and lapping pretty consistent.
Yeah, and as their fuel loads are getting lighter, obviously these cars are working well on light fuel tanks, and they're starting to exchange fastest laps now and starting to pull away from the Rousport duo. They got about 3 seconds on the AJ now.
We've had a lot of views here just of the sides of the racetrack and how close the fans can get to the action here in Surfers Paradise, and what a massive crowd there is on hand. There is,
I think that's Marcus Marshall trying to stay a lap up on
Justin Wilson. Yeah, that's exactly right. Here's now Oriol Servia making his first pit stop of the day. So he lap 18, and Servia is onto the pit lane. Waits for the final drops of fuel to go in, and away goes Oriol Servia. Good stop there by the car number 2, the Pacific Air boys, led of course in the pit stops by Timmy Coffeen, who's been with that team for 17 years. He's been with Newman Haas Racing. Great character, and they have their pit stops so well honed.
Yeah, and I think in that situation, Jeremy, certainly Oriol was trying to get out of traffic. He has one of the fastest cars, if not one of the top 2 or 3 cars out there today, but he was getting stuck in that traffic, losing too much time. He can now take his pit stop, get some clear run, and hopefully when the leaders pit, he's going to close that gap. And
he was saying before that round of pit stop, the car is working just fine, even though he had that hefty bump on the very first corner by Cristiano D'Amato. He said the car is working just fine. Sebastian Bourdais, however, says he wants a little bit more front wing. He said he wants 1 turn of front wing when he comes in for his first pit stop, which will be in 1 more lap, we believe.
And so what he's looking for there, Jeremy, is just a little more front grip. He has probably a bit of a push, which is holding him back, probably mid-corner, and he just wants a little more front bite, a little sharper turn in, and that front wing will give it to him.
So that's again the strategy playing out. We're on lap 19 now for the leaders, a 57 lap race. So this is these guys are on course certainly to be able to get to the end of the race with just 2 pit stops. Some of the other guys that pitted a little earlier, a little bit dodgy. There's Nelson Philippe, a routine service there for MyJack Conquest Racing. What a great view this is. Network 10 bringing us the pictures here from Australia. What a great shot that is.
It is a great shot.
The bird's eye camera coming down the pit lane. So there goes Nelson Philippe. We're about halfway through now the first round of scheduled pit stops. We've got 19 laps in the books, and it's Paul Tracy leading from Sebastian Bourdais and AJ Allmendinger. On board with Paul Tracy, the race leader, 20 laps in the books this time around in his pit pit time for Paul Tracy. His first pit stop, he pulls off, he's in the lead, he's led from about the second corner, and here he is now on pit lane, and his crew will go to work. And Steve Moore, a Kiwi driver, he leads that crew in the pit stops on the right front tyre. 4 fresh Bridgestone Potenza tyres, a full 35-gallon tank of methanol fuel, and then PT will be underway. Great service, Scott Maxwell, by that Forsyth Racing team.
Yeah, a great pit stop, and what a great first stint. Started 5th on the grid, led the entire first stint in first place. Couldn't ask for more.
Sebastian Bourdais, however, did not pit that time around, so Bourdais is going to have 1 extra lap at speed, and that could be crucial.
Well, that 1 extra lap on hot tires, that's worth a couple seconds right there, and that's about the gap he was down, so this is going to be really close on the way out.
I'm sure Bourdais was just trying to conserve a little bit of fuel. This is exactly the way he wanted it to pan out. He can sit behind Tracy, sit in the slipstream, not use quite as much fuel. If he's in the slipstream, he doesn't have to push the air out of the way, and it's all those precious milliliters of fuel that make the difference at the end of the day. And as you say, 1 more lap at speed, and that could pan out for Sebastian Bourdais. We'll have to see. But everybody now making their first round of pit stops, and here comes Sebastian, and he right now will have the pedal to the metal.
Oh, you can see he's like on a qualifying lap with Sebastian right now, and this is the best part of Champ Car. He's coming in right now, he's going to get service and probably come out just about the time Paul Tracy's going to come down the front straight, and it is going to be close.
Here he comes now onto pit lane. He's done that job there, get it down to the speed limit, 55 miles an hour on pit lane, and that was a thing that's bitten him a couple of times this year. But now we're going to see whether the car number 1 with Todd Phillips leads the crew during the pit stops. Pedro Campuzano is the chief mechanic, but he declines to go over the wall these days, leaving it to the younger guys. And again, look at that excellent service by all 4 tyres are changed in absolutely record time, just waiting for the last dregs of fuel, and then the signal to go, and away goes Sebastian Bourdais. Again, excellent work by Newman Haas Racing, and a clear track all around it by the looks of it. There is Paul Tracy, so as you can see, Sebastian Bourdais, he worked that perfectly.
It worked out perfectly, but Paul is now on hot tires and Sebastian's on cold tires, so that gap will shrink dramatically, but I think the time Paul gets up there, Sebastian will be fully up to speed.
And there's looks like a problem for Alex Tagliani. Clearly nothing going on there. They've changed the tires, they've put the fuel in, and I don't know what they were waiting for.
It was a slow pit stop. Something went on there.
Maybe they were just starting
casual.
the car at the back. We didn't quite see sort of behind the rear wing. The starter is, of course, on the back end of these cars, and it certainly cost him valuable seconds. And as you can see, there goes Nelson Philippe and Oriol Servia, and behind Servia now is Will Power, and it's now Tagliani will rejoin behind his teammate. So that strategy by Servia by coming in early, it's a big gamble, because you come in early in the hope of getting some clear track for a couple of laps, but the other guys are out there running on hot tyres, and that generally is a big advantage. So with Servia coming in just a couple of laps before the other guys, that was a bit of a miscall, I would say.
And it didn't pan off at all, because he was behind Will Power when he came in, and he's still stuck behind Will now. And when I say stuck, Will Power is going pretty quick, so he's not losing much time behind Will, but I don't think that was his strategy when he came in early.
I don't think it was. Paul Tracy is now he's shown in 4th place because the 2 Rousport cars went 1 more lap than pretty much everybody else. I guess they came in on lap 21, so Tracy now comes in past the pits 1 more time in 2nd place. He had turned the fastest lap of the race immediately before his first pit stop, but that wasn't enough.
And I mean, that's amazing. Bourdais was about a second behind before the pit stop round. He's almost 3 seconds up now. What a turnaround of 4 seconds in 1 pit stop.
That is quite remarkable, particularly as PT had made such a brilliant in-lap coming in. To be that fast, a 1:33.7, he had Bourdais beaten by a half a second coming into the pits.
Yep.
But that 1 extra lap that Bourdais was able to turn at full racing speed with those Bridgestone Potenza tyres up to absolutely optimal working temperature was the big difference. You can see what a big difference was, about 4 seconds worth.
And a great job, obviously, by the Newman Haas mechanics there to get him in and out so quickly.
Indeed so. So the status quo has changed now. Of course, we've got Bourdais out in front. Paul Tracy still now is in 2nd place. The gap between the two just less than 3 seconds. Olmedinger in 3rd, about another 4 seconds behind. Justin Wilson 3 seconds farther back in 4th place. And now with that problem, as we see Fabrizio Del Monte making another pit stop, with a problem for Alex Tagliani, Jimmy Vasser now moves up into 5th. ahead of Timo Glock, Nelson Philippe and Oriol Servia, who once passed.
And quietly, after an eventful weekend thus far, Timo Glock is doing a great job in 6th place. I mean, he couldn't keep it on the road in practice or qualifying, but now he got his act together at the right time.
And turning some pretty good laps as well. 1:34.5, his fastest lap of the race. If you look at Oriol Servia, his best lap so far is actually only a 1:35.1. So Timo just getting better and better, and clearly just becoming more comfortable on this pretty tricky racetrack. Again, another look at the crowd there. Just they're right by the edge of the track. Here's some fabulous viewing points on this racetrack, and the crowd over the weekend prior to race day, 211,000 people. Last year on race day, there were 107,321. So we've had record crowds for the last, well, pretty much every year here on the Gold Coast. And this weekend, record crowds on the first 3 days, despite the fact the weather on Friday was miserable. And again, a massive attendance here this afternoon, and watching a very interesting motor race unfold. For race control, they're watching car number 3 for possible spray of some sort, maybe coming out of the back of that car. We'll try and take a look on that. We can't see anything yet as the car goes through this very quick turn 7 chicane one more time. We're on lap 24 now for the race leaders. This is a great onboard view for Paul Tracy, and you get a little bit of a feeling how hard he has to work around here, Scott.
Yeah, you can see him bouncing around. I'm just noticing too with this is the first time the race Bourdais really has a clear track in front of him, and for a car in full tanks, he is flying.
And we hear the black flag is going to be shown for Paul Tracy, so we couldn't see any indication of that spray coming out of the back of the car, but he has got the black flag, and here comes Paul Tracy to serve that drive-through penalty. Let's see what happens here. He's coming down the pit lane. He will stop at his pit, and they will not service the car. Well, yeah, they will top it up with fuel, of course. They're going to have a look around. You can see a trail. Oh dear, that looked yes. The cut signal comes there, and that is the end of Paul Tracy today. Oh my goodness, yet more disappointment for PT.
You know, the first half of the year went quite well for Paul, but it's really falling apart the last 3 or 4 races.
Boy, hasn't it just? I mean, he was leading the championship prior to the race in Toronto, and he then had that race. He had a coming together, of course, with Sebastian Bourdais. After that, it's been a real roller coaster ride for Paul Tracy, with more downs than ups, and it looks like maybe some sort of a mechanical problem there. There's a lot of smoke coming out of that Ford Cosworth engine, and that's certainly a very, very unusual sight. Well, that's a great shame for everybody, because including PT, of course. He's done a super job. He was running there doing the best he possibly could, and he wasn't able to quite get the same fuel mileage as was Sebastian Bourdais, and that clearly was a problem for him. He lost the lead in that first round of pit stops, but still a long, long way to go, and anything could have happened. But unfortunately for PT, that's the end of his day.
Yeah, and just looking at the body language and how long it's taken him to get out of the car, I think he's a pretty disappointed driver right now. Again, first stint went fantastic. He went from 5th to 1st, did nothing wrong. Couldn't ask for more, and obviously since the pit stop, something's going wrong. And
2 races in a row disappointment for Paul Tracy.
A huge moment a moment ago. He's feeling the pressure.
On board now with Oriol Servia. He's running in 7th place, and that is Nelson Philippe right ahead of him. Oriol Servia, he started from the pole. He was bundled into a spin at the first corner. A huge lock up there for Oriol Servia coming down into turn 3, and that's not going to do his tyres any good, Scott Maxwell.
No, you don't want to do that too many times. He's going to start to feel a flat spot of vibration in the front end, but he is all over Philippe here, and it's just, I think, a matter of time before he makes a proper attempt here.
And certainly Nelson Philippe is really doing an excellent job there, running right in 6th place. He's looking potentially at his career best finish in the Champ Cars. He's had a very, very good weekend going. He's just getting better and better this season. He's had a difficult start to the season, but for somebody with so little experience, he's done a remarkable job, and he's taken it all in his stride. He seems to be mentally pretty strong for somebody just 18 years of age.
Yeah, again, if you'd asked me before, I wouldn't have put a lot of faith in it, but he has really come on. He came into Champ Car so young, so it's such a difficult series to jump into. You'd almost think he maybe came in a bit too early, but he's really coming on now and ending the season on a real high note.
His best result thus far was it would be a 9th place finish. He achieved that in Las Vegas last year. This year also matched that finish in Edmonton and in Denver, but now running in 6th and really has done an extremely good job. And Oriol Servia is having his work out, even keeping pace with him at this stage.
Well, that's the thing. Every time Oriol gets another guy, the next guy he has to get is even tougher to get. They're getting faster and faster, but he's done a great job to get it up to 7th, but he's got his hands full with Nils.
Yeah, so there is the race leader is Sebastian Bourdais. 26 laps are in the books out of 57, and the next car that he will have to lap is Marcus Marshall, who we can't quite see in that picture, but Marcus Marshall in the car number 5, just got a glimpse of him there as they come through this section at the north end of the racetrack into the Lexmark hairpin one more time, and the race control has been on the radio to Marcus Marshall saying there is the race leader is approaching, and make sure you're aware that is what the blue flags are all about. On board again with AJ Allmendinger running now in 2nd place, but a full 8 seconds behind the race leader, and it's looking extremely good now for Sebastian Bourdais. And AJ Allmendinger, he like it. Ooh, there's a big mistake there for Fabrizio Del Monte, I think that was. Big mistake, got away with it.
Yeah, right in front of AJ as well. I mean, the only thing AJ can hope for right now, because his lap times aren't that far off Bourdais, is to get a yellow, because Bourdais checked out, he's 8 seconds down the road, and the only way he's going to gather that back is a yellow or a mistake by Sebastian.
And last time around, Sebastian Bourdais turned a lap at 1 minute 34.12, so only 4/10 away from his personal best fastest lap of the race. The quickest lap of the race so far, set by Paul Tracy, which is worth a championship point this year. But Bourdais, right now, he's running about 3/4 of a second quicker than the 2nd place guy. Here's a replay from a few moments ago of Sebastian Bourdais having a huge moment coming into turn 3.
I'm sure if the team is watching the same monitor we are, they're going to tell Sebastian, calm down. You've got a big lead. It's a long race, because he's trying hard, and it's not necessary right now. He's got a big lead, and he can just start to cruise and use his head, save some fuel, save the tires.
That's exactly right, and you wonder why is he pushing that hard, but it's sometimes more difficult for drivers, isn't it, Scott Maxwell, to maintain your concentration if you're not pushing at the very limit.
Yeah, a lot of the times the last thing you want to hear on the radio is just start to go easy. I mean, everyone remembers, I think, in the famous incident of McLaren telling Senna to slow down at Monaco, and 3 corners later he had it stuck it in the guardrail. So for a lot of drivers, just pushing hard is the best way to keep their concentration.
And that certainly is what Sebastian Bourdais is looking. Came around one more lap there to 134.3, so another very quick lap by Sebastian Bourdais, a full second quicker that time than AJ Allmendinger. So 134.3 for Bourdais, 135.3 for Allmendinger, and here is Justin Wilson in 3rd place, his last lap around 135.7. The 4th place car, Jimmy Vasser, 134.7. So curiously now, it seems the Rousport cars not working as well as they were on that first stint. Jimmy Vasser, meanwhile, making good strides forward. He's turning laps now within 2 or 3 tenths of the race leader.
Yeah,
there is Jimmy Vasser.
And you don't have to tell Jimmy how to run a race like this. He's probably the most experienced guy, along with Tracy in Champ Car, and he knows to get on a podium, you have to survive.
And he's raced here 13 times in the past, has Jimmy Vasser. That's the record among all drivers. So, as you say, he has more Champ Car experience than anyone else here. He won here in 1996 from the pole, driving, of course, then for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. And that was, of course, on the route to the championship title that year for Justin Wilson. We hear that the pits are clear. The yellow flag, we're going to see a full course caution, and that is exactly why. It's Will Power who has made a mistake. What a shame for Will. He was running up among in 8th place, doing an excellent job, but he has brought out the second full course caution of the day at turn 3. He's off into the tire wall, buried that car in backwards, and now, of course, the pits are closed, so we will not see any pit stops at this stage, and this is exactly what AJ Allmendinger was looking for.
Yeah, and it's exactly what we talked about before the race. It's a long race, and these rookies like McDowell and Power is doing a fantastic job, but one little error, he probably had a moment under braking, and bang, he's in the tire wall.
There is his teammate, that is Alex Tagliani, and you can see the damage also to Alex Tagliani's car. I think they were battling for 8th and 9th.
Did we have 2 teammates coming together here?
It sure
looks like it.
Certainly does. There's damage. Let's put it this way: there's damage to the front wing of Alex Tagliani's car. He was on board with Will Power as he turned into the corner, and boom, around she goes. And Alex Tagliani there, apparently making some sort of a point to his young teammates.
Making a statement who the number 1 driver is on the team, and that will probably not go over too well at back at the pits.
And Craig Gore is the one of the owners of this team. Craig Gore and John Fisher, they put together this Team Australia effort and took it to Derek Walker. And Craig is a man who speaks his mind, let's say. He doesn't mince his words, Craig Gore. And I think Alex Tagliani might have a few harsh words when he gets back to the pit lane at the end of the race. He's coming in now for a change of nose on that car. The pits are closed, so he will incur a penalty by coming in now, but of course he has no option. There's a flat right front tyre, and he does need a new nose on that car, so he'll have to go to the back of the line when we get ready for the restart. But they will change all 4 cars on this, all 4 wheels on this car. And you can see that the interesting strategy that generally the right front tyre changer was otherwise employed in putting that new nose on, and the outside rear tyre changer changed both of those outside tyres on that car. Oh, ouch. And there's Fabrizio Del Monte hitting the wall as well. That was a big hit. I think that was under yellow as well. That's a bit embarrassing.
And his day is definitely over now. I think what they'll probably do with Power there is send him back out, and again, there could be more damage than they can see right now.
So Fabrizio Montes, and he gets clobbered on the head by his own car there, bits of his own car, a bit of the side pod there. That's, oh dear. So the 2 rookies, it looks like, conceivably going to end their days right here. I certainly can't see Fabrizio Del Monte being able to continue. Conceivably Power might be able to get that car back, and if they can get a new rear wing on, maybe he can carry on, just gain some more experience. But certainly that would be a very disappointing end to what had been a very fine day for the Queenslander.
Yeah, especially with 2 team cars taking each other out there. So I'd like to be a fly on the wall in that debrief at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Will Power coming in this week, I'm still pinching myself that I'll be driving for Team Australia at my home event. That was his thoughts coming into this weekend. As he leaves the weekend, I think he's going to be not quite so proud of the help he's getting from his teammates. But he's done an excellent job. He was among the top 10 pretty much all weekend, and for the amount of experience that he has, which was really just a 2-day test at Portland about 6 weeks ago, and that incidentally was in a Reynard chassis, not the Lola that he's been driving this weekend. Will Power can be extremely proud. Listen to the crowd.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Regardless if this is the end of his day or not, I thought it was a great effort by Will, and he's really shown that he deserves a full-time riding champ car, and he's got a long career in front of him. This will be quickly forgotten.
Will indeed, and he's certainly made a lot of friends for himself here. He's had a lot of success here in the past, but it's nothing like driving a champ car on this event, and he's just taken to this car really like a duck to water. His career in Europe is going fairly well, certainly. He's had he wins in Formula 3, poles in Formula 3, wins in the World Series by Renault, but the next step up the ladder, he wanted to go Formula 1, but the next step was going to be oh so difficult. He gets a lot of help from Mark Webber, does Will Power in Europe over the last few years, but I think Mark will certainly say that this is a very smart decision to take the opportunity here with Team Australia, move to the champ cars, and really give his career a good boost forward. And no doubt about it, he's done exactly that this weekend.
Yeah, and I can't really see them getting this car back out there. There's a lot of rear end damage there, and the rear wing end mounts are all bent. So
yeah.
If he is back out there, it's going to be a long pit stop.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to park this car. There's certainly every intention of Team Australia running a 3rd car in Mexico in a couple of weeks' time, either for Will Power or possibly we hear this year's Toyota Atlantic champion Charles Zoltzman might actually get an opportunity to drive either that car or certainly a car in the season finale in a couple of weeks' time. And certainly, judging by the job that Will has done this weekend, it's going to be a very good ride to be in.
The great thing though is that even as he's driving around slowly back to the pits, the crowd is just giving him a huge ovation, and I'm sure if this is the end of his run, he's going to get a large cheer when he hops out of this car.
1 to go, 1 lap to go this time around, says race control, and then we'll be back to green flag conditions. 30 laps are in the books. We're on lap 31. The pits are open, so if anybody does want to make a pit stop, now is the time to do it. And the race order out in front is still Sebastian Bourdais from AJ Allmendinger, Justin Wilson, Jimmy Vasser, Timo Glock now runs out the top 5. An excellent job. Pretty quiet he's been for Rocket Sports Racing, but again a super job by the German rookie. Aurel Servia now up into 6th place, so he did get past Nelson Philippe just before that caution period came out. Ronnie Bremer running in 8th place for Dale Coyne Racing. That'll be good news for him after 2 very disappointing outings in the last 2 events. Rodolfo Lavine in 9th, Andrew Ranger 10th. Riccardo Sperafico and Alex Tagliani round out the unlapped runners in 11th and 12th places. And Tagliani's been told over the radio to move to the back of the train of cars. That the penalty for making his pit stop when the pits were officially closed. So before we go back to green, Tagliani will drop entirely to the back of the pack. Behind Tagliani, the 13th place is Marcus Marshall. Michael McDowell also shown 1 lap off the ultimate pace. So Will Power, his day is done. I think he's there. He is out of the car, and he's surely disappointed. But you can see there, you can see too on his face. I mean, the body language tells you he knows he's done a good job, Scott Maxwell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not entirely convinced it was his fault. We didn't really get to see a full picture of that incident, but you know, taking a driver's perspective, it sure looked like it was his corner, and he was at the apex when he got hit.
Yeah, judging from that onboard, yeah, that brief onboard shot we had from Will Power. I mean, he was looking forward the camera, but I mean, he was well turned into the corner. He was only a couple of car lengths away from the apex.
Yep.
When you could see the rear end being jolted around.
Well, and ultimately, it is the passenger's responsibility to get by cleanly. We didn't see the approach to the corner, but I don't think he did too much wrong.
There's certainly, because there's no blocking allowed in the Champ Car World Series, but you could see from the onboard before the incident that Will Power was right over on that right hand wall prior to the turn, and so clearly, well, apparently he did absolutely nothing wrong, but he was hit by Tagliani. And the golden rule for teammates is
do anything you can, but don't touch each other, don't put each other out. And sometimes in a teammate situation, it can actually become confusing. Alex could assume, okay, he's my teammate, I'm a bit quicker at this point in the race, he's going to let me by. And sometimes that's potentially a dangerous assumption, and Will obviously was fighting for position.
It was indeed, and their relative fastest laps at that stage, Alex Tagliani had turned a 1:34.6. Will Power's best up until that junction were doing a 35.1, so certainly Tagliani there, apparently half a second or so quicker, and that's not an awful lot around a racetrack like this. But going back to that teammate scenario, have you ever been in that situation, either on the receiving end or the giving end, Scott Maxwell? Be honest here.
No, I'm happy to say I haven't been, but there's been a lot of famous teammates coming together in Champ Car. Franchitti and Tracy used to have a few battles, and with detrimental results, which caused Barry Green a lot of grief. A lot of grief for Mr. Green.
A lot of grief for Mr. Green, no doubt about it. And here we are. This is the north end of the racetrack coming through. You can see the lights are out on the Ford Mustang pace car, and they're going to be going back to green again this time around. So 31 laps in the books here in Australia, getting ready for the restart.
This is what AJ needed.
Green flag it out, the pace car is in, the race is underway again, and there is Sebastian Bourdais under intense pressure. That is Marcus Marshall, who is a lap down. He's got AJ Allmendinger up on the inside, and come on Marcus, get out of the way and let the race leaders go through. He just about opened the door for AJ Allmendinger, but he also slammed the door in front of Justin Wilson, and right behind Justin Wilson is Timo Glock as well. So Marcus Marshall's got to pay attention to his mirrors. He's a lap down, he's in 13th place. He is a local hero who's got to be careful not to make a fool of himself. There's Timo Glock. Is that Timo Glock, or was that that could have actually been Michael McDowell? Look at those two cars, they're almost identical. But it was Michael McDowell, I think, who slid wide there on that corner. So he has lost several positions, but he is already a lap down, and Timo Glock does maintain that position just ahead of Aurel Servia.
It's a difficult position for Marshall or McDowell to be in. They're a lap down, but you can't just disappear. They cannot just jump offline and go through all the dirt, or you're going to be in the wall. So I think they're probably doing their best to keep out of the way, but from their their perspective, you can't just give it all, give the whole farm away, being nice to everybody else.
And Oriol Servia, he thought about looking down to the inside there at turn 7, didn't he?
Yeah, there was some light contact, but I guess that's Tagliani trying to work his way back up.
It is, trying to get past Andrew Ranger there right ahead of him, and they were very, very close to making contact at that end of the race. There's Riccardo Sperafico rounding out the cars at the tail end of the lead lap. So Tagliani's already gotten past Riccardo Sperafico, and next in his sights will be Andrew Ranger. And come the race leaders, a good first lap, an excellent first lap by Sebastian Bourdais. Pulls out a couple of seconds over AJ Allmendinger, so a really fine restart lap by the not only defending series champion but the newly re-crowned I should say champion Sebastian Bourdais, and Allmendinger in second place. Now again, he's pulled away from Justin Wilson primarily as a result of Justin being held up by the slower car last time around, and now Justin has got past Marcus Marshall, and then behind Marcus Marshall is Jimmy Vasser, who will now take his turn at the lapped car.
Yeah, Vasser's going to want to get by Marshall as soon as he can. He's obviously got a good car today, and he is going to give Justin Wilson all he can handle.
And Jimmy, like everybody else, he loves coming here to Surfers Paradise. As I said, he's been coming here since way back in 1992, the second race ever here on this racetrack. He scored the pole here in 96, and that was actually the first pole of his champ car career, so a lot of happy memories for Jimmy Vasser on this racetrack, and doing an excellent job and running up in 4th place here. And here's another replay of that was Justin Wilson making his presence known to Marcus Marshall. You can see a little flick of the wrist as he went past, and a bump as well for Justin Wilson. So clearly frustration there from the Briton.
And that was a bit of a heavy hit on his right rear, so hopefully he didn't bend anything there.
Justin, we hear he's coming into the pit lane. There he is. There you go. I think you're absolutely right, Scott. Now, so I think he's damaged the suspension on that car. So his temper, they got the better of him. It would appear. He's coming into the pit lane. They're going to treat it like a routine pit stop, because it is actually about time for his second pit stop of the day. But they're going to send him on his way. But this is lap 34. He's got to go 23 more laps to get to the end of this race without making another pit stop. So I'm not entirely convinced that was a scheduled stop by Justin Wilson, because I'm sure first time around he came in on lap 20. So I'm not sure who called who into the pits. Yeah. Whether the team called him in and just said cool down a little bit, or whether he came in on his own accord.
I think he probably maybe bent a rim, or potentially something worse. Obviously they changed the wheel, hopefully that's the problem, but he'll find out pretty quickly if there's a more serious problem. But that was definitely not a scheduled per se stop.
And it was a very uncharacteristic maneuver there by Justin Wilson. Clearly he felt very aggrieved at being held up by the lapped car of Marcus Marshall, and Justin Wilson's his nickname in England before he came over here was Badass. He earned that to work at the Bedford Autodrome with the Formula Palm Rowdy guys, because he came up through Formula Palm Rowdy, won the championship in 1998, and he's still managed by Jonathan Palmer, the ex-Formula 1 manager. But he's one of the most mild-mannered characters you could find, hence that somewhat ironic nickname for Justin. But he showed he can be a badass there.
Well, we'll find out this lap. If he comes back in the pits, obviously he has something terminal, but if it's just a bent rim, hopefully, and if he can fit into that fuel window, he's not out of the running.
Not out of the running by any means. Still a long, long way to go. 35 laps in the books now for the race leaders, and Justin Wilson will keep an eye on his lap times and see whether he is right back up to speed. It certainly looked like it from the out lap that we saw. He looked like he was pushing that car pretty hard.
Yeah, it did look okay. And in an odd sort of way, if it went yellow in the next few laps, it can actually work to your advantage. When everyone dives in, he can stay out if he has that fuel window.
That's a very, very good point, because as you say, that if there is another full course caution, then the pits are automatically closed, and so if you've already made your pit stop, then you are in very, very good shape. And that is exactly what happened to Timo Glock in Montreal. He'd stopped. There was no way he was going to make that race to the finish of that race without making one more pit stop than everybody else. At least that's the way it seemed. But there was several full course cautions in the latter stages of the race, and he had already made what for him would not have been his final pit stop, but because of all the yellows, it was his final pit stop. So once the the pits had been opened and everybody else came in to make their final pit, what was their final pit stops, he cycled out behind Timo Glock, and he held on and came within one lap of an absolutely amazing victory. As it was, he had to settle for second place, but as you say, all is not yet lost for Justin Wilson.
Look at AJ Allmendinger. Is he ever exciting to watch in this car, watching him fight it? AJ's only got one problem today, it's Sebastian Bourdais. Other than that, he is driving a great race. And look how he's going to have a strong podium finish.
To work hard, isn't he? That here is Justin Wilson, and last time around was looking at his lap time for Justin Wilson. Of course, it was slow because he just came out of that was his out lap. So we'll see when he comes past this time around what this lap time is, and if it's down in around about the 1:37 or so, then we'll think it should be about par for the course for your first lap out of the pits. There is a Rodolfo Lavine making his second pit stop of the day, and there goes Justin Wilson across the line. It's a 1:37.1, not bad for your first line lap.
Yeah, tires still aren't up to optimum temperature, so I think the next lap should see him back down in the competitive 33 range.
There's again a replay of Justin Wilson, and coming out of the pits there, and you can see that that looks like some sort of a plastic bag just lodging there on the wishbone, and hopefully that's not going to get then blown into the radiator inlet when it really could cause a problem.
As long as it stays there. I mean, historically you've seen little things like paper bags get stuck in a rad and that'll overheat an engine.
Yeah, you can see it's still there lodged on the wishbone. As I say, if it stays there, that's okay, but if it goes into that radiator opening and gets lodged in there, that could cause a major problem. And over the years, we've seen, particularly on these sort of temporary circuits, where particularly when there's an awful lot of people on hand, there's a lot of debris flying around, particularly towards the end of a race weekend.
Certainly, and if a lot of debris gets in that rad, they'll have to make a pit stop and clear the rads out.
So the race leader, here he is, Sebastian Bourdais. He's still pushing on. A new fastest lap of the race last time around, 1:32.85 seconds. So he's really stepping out the pace, is Sebastian Bourdais in car number one. The champion here. He's looking to become the 15th different winner in 15 races here in Surfers Paradise. And here's his teammate onto pit lane.
Again, unusual early pit stop for Servia. I'm not sure what the strategy is here, unless he was in heavy traffic and just wants to get out of it again.
There he goes. He was running in fifth place before that pit stop. Before the pit stop, he comes in there, routine service. Looks like he came out. Everything looks fine there for Oriole Service, certainly. But it's car number one. His teammate Sebastian Bourdais really cranking on the pressure at the front of the field. AJ Allmendinger also turned his fastest lap on that last lap. It was a whole half a second slower than the race leader.
I'm going to go out on a limb here too and say I think Justin Wilson maybe has a permanent problem, as he's lapping in the 37s, which is a clear 3 or 4 seconds off the leader's pace, and that's not what he was doing earlier.
That's not what he was doing earlier on. So here is Oriole Servia. He's now running after that pit stop. He's shown still in 6th place, but I don't think that's quite right. So 38 laps in the books here at Surfers Paradise. Back on board with AJ Allmendinger, lap 39 here on the Gold Coast, and he is still pressing hard. He hasn't given up by any means. The gap to the race leader is about 4.6 seconds. It's extending little by little, but AJ clearly has not given up.
AJ's too young to know when to give up, and he's going to try hard right to the end, and man, he is an exciting driver to watch. Just watch his hands working the wheel, and he's trying very hard.
These are the two fastest cars on the racetrack by quite some margin. Last time around, a new fastest lap for Sebastian Bourdais. His time's coming down a little bit more, 1:32.366 for Sebastian Bourdais. Allmendinger about 0.3 slower, and everybody else, no one else is even in the 33s. 34.7 for Jimmy Vasser, so a full 2 seconds slower than those two race leaders, as we see Ronnie Bremer rejoining after his second pit stop of the afternoon.
Yeah, just to put a point on that, in 5 or 6 green laps, they've pulled out nearly 15 seconds, the top two have, on the rest of the pack. That's incredible.
That is an amazing pace being set. Here is Jimmy Vasser now in 3rd place, about to make his second pit stop of the day. He's not yet come on to pit lane for service, but he's he's using his experience to its maximum effect. He's stayed cool, he's staying out of trouble, turning consistent laps, and then wait for the latter stages of the race. If he's in a position to make a move, that's when Jimmy will think about making it.
Jimmy's been around a long time, and he knows even if he doesn't have the car to win, sometimes you can't just win every race. He's going to be on that podium just by using his head, keeping a strong enough pace where he's close to the leaders if something goes wrong. And at the end of the day, it'll pay off.
That's exactly right. And right now, he's in the 6th place in the points, is Jimmy Vasser, coming into this weekend. He will overtake Mario Dominguez, assuming he can finish anywhere like he is right now. And certainly that was the goal coming into the season, was for Jimmy Vasser to get for both of the PKV racing entries among the top 6 in the points table at the end of the year. If he has a good result here, he'll move up into the top 5. Cristiano D'Amata, however, not having such a good day. He's out, of course, as a result of that first corner incident. There is Timo Glock, makes his second pit stop, comes out of an excellent 4th place, having made that pit stop. It's Michael McDowell making a stop. He's still running a lap down in 14th place. His teammate Timo Glock, which has been passed by Nelson Philippe. So Philippe is now shown in 4th place, Timo Glock in 5th, and Tagliani back up into 6th place as this pit stop cycles through. And now it's the turn of the race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, one more time down to that 55-mile-an-hour limit and into his waiting pit stall for the 2nd time this afternoon. And hopefully this will be the last pit call for Sebastian Bourdais. Right on schedule, 40 laps in the books. Just a routine service here for Sebastian Bourdais. He's delighted with the way that car is handling. Maybe a slight tweak to that front wing, Scott Maxwell, but just waiting for the last of the fuel, and away he goes.
Yeah, we know in the first pit stop they added a bit of front wing. Obviously it paid off.
And here's AJ Allmendinger also from 2nd place. He too has made his final pit stops. So again, status quo there. They're both rejoined, and still it's Bourdais with that handy lead over AJ Allmendinger. So now all is looking good for these two at the front of the field. Even if there's any more fuel call cautions, they've made their last pit stops. They're in good shape to go to the end of the race. There is the 3rd place car also of Jimmy Vasser making his turn onto pit lane. We expect Timo Glock in, and Nelson Philippe also has just been into the pits. So again, right on schedule for these guys. 17 laps to go here in Surfers Paradise. It's a bit of a battle here. That is Justin Wilson right ahead of Oriol Servia. That's the battle for 8th and 9th. So we saw that Oriol Servia made that early pit stop. Whether he can get to the end of the race without stopping again, I don't know. It's going to be kind of tricky. You have to do 20 laps. He stopped on lap 37. That's doable. I'm sure the team will have worked that fuel consumption out before he came in for that final pit stop. So it looked like excellent strategy by Newman House Racing. And they've got Oriol Servia now out in some good track position.
Yeah, and he's lapping significantly quicker than Justin is at this point, over a 2nd lap quicker. So he's going to want to make quick work of Justin.
This is a battle now with AJ Allmendinger having made his final pit stop, and Timo Glock has not. We're expecting Timo Glock into the pits anytime now. You can see they're pulling off to the right-hand side of the screen. There goes Timo Glock, who is running briefly there in 3rd place, so he will relinquish that position as he makes the final pit stop of the afternoon for the Rocket Sports Racing team. And AJ Allmendinger continues his run now in 2nd place. Behind him in 3rd place on the road, that's actually right behind him there, is Alex Tagliani, who is certainly running very quickly, but Alex has one more pit stop to come.
Yeah, that'll come a bit later, because I'm sure they fueled Alex during his nose cone change.
They did. Lap 29 was when Tagliani came in, so he should be able to go for around another at least 6 or 7 laps before he makes his pit stop. And now he's running a good bit lighter than AJ Allmendinger, and now is the time for Tag to make a move. We're coming down into the Bardacar turn, and there goes down the inside is Alex Tagliani for 2nd place.
Good move by Alex. AJ's not going to want to be held up too much, because he's about the only threat to Sebastian at this point. But like you said, Tag is on empty tanks or lower fuel than Allmendinger, so he's going to probably take off for a while. But AJ knows Alex is coming back in a few laps. No need to panic. No need to panic.
I'm sure the team is on the there's Rodolfo Lavin running way wide at that very same corner, and And there is Ronnie Bremer and Andrew Ranger in they're battling away behind us. That's a great tussle there for 10th, 11th and 12th places, sorting himself out over that Barticard chicane. A great action here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. This again now is Oriol Servia. He's shown in 8th place at the moment. And where is Justin Wilson? He was behind Justin. There's no sign of Justin in that picture, which is slightly surprising. Oh, that's why. Oriol Servia again. Whoa, he made a pass there at that Barticard chicane and then straight line the chicane. So that's going to be an interesting call for race control. The drivers have been told if you shortcut the course, and clearly that was a shortcut of the course, if you do shortcut the track in order to gain an advantage, then you will be penalised. Difficult call, that one.
Yeah, but again, he did make the move and benefited from it.
And we hear from race control that pass is under review, Scott.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why Justin let him go so easily. He's going to have to slow down, let Justin back in front, have another go.
Yeah, I'm sure the argument, certainly from Justin Wilson's camp, would be that Oriol Servia would not have been able to make that pass without straight lining the chicane, and therefore he should drop behind and make that pass again. And I think if the Newman Haas team was smart, they'd get onto that right away and realise what I'm pretty sure is about to happen and tell him to fall back in line and just give him more time then to make up the ground in the latter stages of this motor race.
Yeah, the longer he waits, the bigger the penalty is going to be. So he needs to get back there quickly and then attack again.
And Oriol Servia, because he knows all about these shortcut into course penalties, because it's exactly what effectively won him the race at Montreal a month or two ago. He and Timo Glock on 2 different occasions went side by side into the final chicane, and Timo Glock had to, in order to stay ahead, had to shortcut the course, and the second time around he was called for the penalty. What's interesting, of course, maybe from Oriol Servia's perspective, is that it took until the second time that Glock did that manoeuvre that he was told to drop in behind Oriol Servia. Now Servia's done it once. Is the call going to come right away?
Yeah, is there a bit of a cushion there? Do they let you let one slip past before they call it? But we'll find out soon enough.
It's going to be an interesting call. That's Tony Cotman in race control, and the call has come from race control. Please reverse the order. So Oriol Servia and Newman Haas Racing are not going to be very happy, but they are going to have to make that pass good, so to speak. And Servia will have to wave past Justin Wilson and make that pass again. So all sorts of action here on the streets of Surfers Paradise. It's always like here in Australia, and more great action this afternoon. And look at this down the inside. That is a great pass. That was Nelson Philippe there trying to hold off I think that was Alex Tagliani, but all sorts of battles here. Might have been the lap car. It's tough to say. But Nelson Philippe now is under a lot of pressure. He's been running superbly all race long, but it's now that's Marcus. That is Michael McDowell moving to the inside. So a couple of laps cars suddenly getting past Nelson Philippe, and right up now onto the gearbox of the young Frenchman comes Ronnie Bremer. That is a battle now for 9th and 10th places.
Yeah, quietly, even though he got off to a bit of a rough start, McDowell, he's kept out of trouble. He fell a lap down early, but he's maintained it, and he's now worked his way up to 14th. Again, if he could get a finish today for a guy like McDowell with his lack of experience at this level, that would be almost like a victory.
Yeah, and of course, putting off a pass like that on someone like Nelson Philippe, that'd be good for his ego, if nothing else. There is Nelson Philippe, the well-boxed car of My Jack Conquest Racing, running in at 9th place, and lost out a little bit as a result of those pit stops. However, there's still at least a couple of guys in front of him that still do need to make another pit stop. Those include Alex Tagliani and Riccardo Sperafico, who's currently shown in 4th place. So there is a replay of Servia straight lining that Barticard chicane and gaining a massive advantage over Justin Wilson. And the Newman Haas Racing team has been reminded to let Wilson back past, and clearly Servia has pulled away massively from Justin Wilson. He's now going to have to relinquish all that he has gained. And you can see the gap has now come down a little bit, but here is Oriol Servia coming down into that same danger zone, if you like, one more time. and Wilson beginning to close in again. But how frustrating must this be for Oriol Servia?
Oh, super frustrating. But the longer he waits, the bigger the penalty is going to be. So he's better just to get on the binders and let him by and get back at it.
There's a big slideways moment there for Nelson Felipe. It was shortly after that that he got passed by the lapped cars of Marcus Marshall and Michael McDowell. On board again one more time though with AJ Allmendinger running. He's in third place on the road, but really second in overall terms. Sebastian Bourdais about a 10-second lead over Alex Tagliani, who was still to make one more pit stop this afternoon. He's out of sequence. He had an incident with his own teammate Will Power a little while ago, came in for service then, and so he's out of sequence with the other race leaders. So Tagliani for sure will have to stop one more time. Allmendinger then, we're looking at him in third place. Sperafico doing a fine job running fourth at the moment, but again his last pit stop was on lap 30. He too will require service one more time. And then Jimmy Vasser running fifth, Justin Wilson sixth, and Oriol Servia in seventh place. Justin Wilson last stopped on lap 34, and Oriol Servia stopped on lap 37, so 23 laps Wilson has to go to get to the end of the race. That's a tall order.
Yeah, and Servia has let Justin by, so racing will now resume.
Racing will now resume, and there is Alex Tagliani pushing on here pretty well. He's turned some very quick laps, well, relatively quick laps. He just turned his best lap of the race thus far last time around. That was a 1 minute 34.3, and now he comes across the line one more time to Alex Tagliani, still running in second place, quicker again there, 134.135, fifth fastest lap overall, but 2 seconds away from Bourdais' best lap of the race set 7 laps ago on lap 39 at a 132.063. An amazing difference between those first few runners.
Yeah, and Tagliani is certainly taking advantage of the lower tanks now, but Bourdais, I would have to say, is probably in cruise mode right now. If he could do 32s early in the race, now he's at the 34 level with a comfortable 10-second gap. Sebastian knows what he's doing out there, and he's what a way to celebrate his championship.
Yeah, just clinch it in the best possible way. He knew coming into the weekend he was odds-on favourite. All he had to do was really turn up for the last couple of races. He almost cemented it on Friday by taking the provisional pole, which these days, of course, is worth a championship point. But he's still pressing hard. He just clipped the tyres there in turn 7.
Yeah, this guy just can't quit. He's a pure race car driver, and he just wants to go as fast as that car can possibly go. It probably is. We get back to the concentration thing as well. If he's easing up a bit, it's a lot easier to make a mistake. So probably in Sebastian's world, he just wants to go flat out.
As you can see, coming through that very quick chicane, it's a left, right, just well, it's more than a kiss of the tyres there, wasn't it? They did that pretty hard.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was with the tyre and not the front wing. Because when you clip that, you're probably doing through that corner about 110 miles an hour. You clip a front wing at that speed, and that can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, a wing would be a different thing. I mean, he probably barely feels that in the steering wheel when he touches it with the tire, but if he gets a wing in, he's going to do a lot of damage.
So Tagliani, we're hearing from his pit. There's this battle brewing up here. That is Nelson Felipe, and right behind Nelson Felipe now is Rodolfo Lavigne and Andrew Ranger. So they're battling away merrily there for 10th, 11th and 12th places at the moment. And this is quite a battle going on. They've been swapping places back and forth, actually, these three, through much of the latter stages of the race. And certainly in the earlier stages, Felipe was well out in front of these two. So how he's quite fallen back into the clutches of Andrew Ranger, who apparently is picking up the pace, is interesting.
Yeah, we haven't seen Andrew Ranger at all today, but Felipe has been dropping fairly drastically. Maybe he has a problem with his car. Clearly he must.
He was using the push, the Cosworth power to pass there as he came past the line one more time. But he's still relatively early, 10 laps to go in this race. I'm not sure he really needs to use that yet, but that he did, and he does manage to stay ahead of Rodolfo Lavigne. But here again, looking through that first chicane, Lavigne very, very close, and he's right back looking to the inside, going down into turn 3. Whoops! Lavigne dived to the inside, but they both stalled their engines. This is going to bring out a caution. I think they both killed those engines. Lavine dived to the inside, but he was then going in too deep to make the corner.
Yeah, he just left it a little too late. When he locked it up, he couldn't. He was turning the wheel, but nothing was happening, and Philippe had nowhere to go.
It's a late lunge to the inside, and clearly he locks up the brakes there, does Rodolfo Lavine. He tries to make the pass, and poor old Nelson Philippe, kind of an innocent bystander.
Yeah, absolutely. And the guy laughing there is Andrew Ranger, who just gained 2 spots.
And if there is a full course caution, that was good news for Alex Tachyon, because he got in before that caution, so he's able to make his final service of the day. Justin Wilson has been praying for a full course caution so he can make it to the finish without making one more pit stop. But there is Alex. He's made that pit stop and he's rejoined. We'll have to wait and see exactly where he is.
I think he slotted in right behind Jimmy Vasser.
I think he did, and that would be excellent work by the Team Australia guys, because he was in danger of losing a lot more position. So excellent work by that team, and a stroke of luck that we have not yet required a full course caution, which is fairly remarkable, with the Champ Car safety team there out on the racetrack attending to the stalled car of Rodolfo Lavine. So he's carrying the Corona colours, of course, and he's a local favourite. Here's another replay of Marcus Marshall having another unscheduled trip through the grass at that chicane out at turn 5 and 6. It's a tricky part of the racetrack there. We've seen a couple of mistakes for him, but we've heard from race control they're going to try and keep this caution with just a local yellow flag, so without a need to go full course caution. And that's what we're hearing from race control. That certainly is the situation at the moment.
And that's good news for Sebastian Bourdais, because probably the last thing he wants to see right now is a pace car pull out in front of him, because even though he seems to have the car and everything in control over AJ Allmendinger, you just don't want to take that chance on a restart.
But it's a curious, interesting call certainly from race control. That's Ronnie Bremer there, putting a lot of pressure now on Timo Glock, and Ronnie has come on strong as this race has progressed. Although having said that, Timo Glock has actually just turned his best lap of the race a couple of laps ago. He's running now, sorry, that's Ricardo Sperafico. Is that Sperafico? No, Sperafico now is in the pits. There is Ricardo. So he's given up that 4th place for Dale Coyne Racing. Comes in for his final service and leaves Ronnie Bremer there to chase the German. So we're inside 10 laps to go here, just 8 laps to go for the race leaders here in Australia. Time ticking up, with Bourdais looking good. So here we are in Surfers Paradise. We've got just 8 laps to go for the race leader, Sebastian Bourdais. He holds a lead right now of about 13 seconds over AJ Allmendinger. We're watching there Ricardo Sperafico. He's just made his final pit stop of the day and rejoined, we believe, in 8th place. So he had an excellent run this afternoon. The young Brazilian, he came up through Formula 3000. He's certainly struggled this year, particularly with his confidence. It took him a long while to really feel completely comfortable in these cars. And the cars are hard to drive, but for somebody with his amount of experience, it certainly took him longer than anticipated. But he has had a good few results and has a good race this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, a really solid race, and again at probably one of the most difficult events of the year.
So Sebastian Bourdais well out in front. We're watching him right now as he's on lap 51 out of the 57 lap race down the Esplanade. One more time, he's well out on his own. Nobody in sight behind him and none in front as well. So all he's going to do now, it seems, is keep his nose clean, and he will be looking for win number 6 on the season and the 5th out of the last 6 races. Just amazing records that Bourdais has built up this season. He's only his 27th, sorry, his 44th Champ Car start. He's already got 15 wins to his name and 18 poles, just remarkable statistics. And this afternoon, looking again to get win number 16 and put this championship well under wraps. But AJ, well, you'd say he never gives up. I'm sure he realises there's really no chance of catching Bourdais at this stage, Scott Matchlock.
No, and to me, it just looks like Bourdais has a car that is in a class of its own. AJ's trying real hard, but I just get a little worried with AJ. He's had some great runs this year. hopefully we won't see a late race mistake from him. And that's just youthful enthusiasm and a bit of lack of experience. But he's driven a great race today, so hopefully I won't jinx him here, and we'll see AJ on the podium.
Yes, so Bourdais also looking to have got the extra bonus point for setting the fastest lap of the race. He's at a 1:32.063 of Sebastian Bourdais, orbiting at the second fastest lap at a 32.699. So a pretty fair margin between those two, and Allmendinger will just try and bring it home now and secure what will be another second place finish for him. He's second, he still has not yet got a maiden champ car victory. Twice he has finished in second place. There's a mistake though for Nelson Philippe. He was looking at potentially a good result, but it's all gone wrong for Nelson Philippe.
Yeah, and he's been struggling the last 10 laps, and I don't think that was a healthy car before this, so something's obviously gone terribly wrong for Nelson.
It has, and he's done an excellent job in the early stages, but whether it's just the stamina that he's lacking for the youngster. He's 19 years of age now. Of course, he celebrated his 19th birthday in July last year when he made his rookie campaign in the Champ Car World Series. He was the youngest Champ Car driver ever, and as we talked about earlier on, a massive lack of experience he has coming in before he stepped into the Champ Cars. Just one season of racing in the Barber Dodge Series racing under his belt, but I wonder about that stamina perhaps, and maybe it was him or maybe it was a car problem. I guess I shouldn't really speculate, but no doubt about it, he wasn't running nearly as well in the latter stages, relatively speaking, as he was earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it was just a car thing, but it is a physical track, and driver fatigue sets in. With 7-8 laps, you're counting them down. If you're tired, it becomes a real mental struggle to get it to the finish, and any little error, like even braking 10-20 feet later than normal because of a lack of concentration, you'll slide right off the road.
Well, and we're here from race control that the car of Nelson Philippe will be left where it is in the tyre barrier at turn 4. So again, there will be no full course caution. The officials are trying desperate to get this race to finish under green flag conditions. Of course, is exactly what Sebastian Bourdais wants, but it's exactly not what AJ Allmendinger and the Rousport team want. There is the car. Yeah, it is in a pretty safe location there. It's certainly well off the racing line. Philippe has not yet vacated the premises, but I don't think he's going anywhere, and that is at the beginning of this the Esplanade straight away. There's a replay again of Nelson Philippe just apparently locking up and sliding wide, probably just getting into the marbles there on the entry to the turn.
Yeah, he just looks like he just outbraked himself, and again a small error with serious results.
He's hoping and waiting for the safety team to come and give him a push.
That's not going to come.
Like it's going to happen. Yeah. One thing we can talk about maybe at the moment is the fact that as this race is really winding down, there's Oriol Servier, who's got himself back up into 6th place. He's still chasing after Justin Wilson, but I don't think he's going to be able to make that past second. Actually, right behind Oriol Servier is Timo Glock there, who's really stepping up the pace again. He's putting now the pressure on Oriol Servier.
Yeah, Timo's pushing very hard right now, making a big late surge here, and he's actually quite a bit quicker than Servier, so it could be an interesting last 4 laps for Oriol.
Yeah, it's not overdone yet. What I was going to say was that a couple of weeks ago, Champ Car announced a new rule package for 2007. There'll be a new car. It's going to be narrow, it's going to be shorter, it's going to be lighter, it's going to have a bit more horsepower, still using the same Cosworth XFE engine, but a new package for next year, and that's an exciting development for the Champ Car World Series. Just 4 laps here to go this afternoon. So there is Oriol Servier, and we talked about that new chassis package. The new Panos chassis will be built for 2007, and I think just a quick hats off to the guys at Lola Cars, and I know there's a bunch of them watching in Huntingdon this morning. It will be in the UK time right now. They've been staunch supporters of the Champ Car World Series. They've done a fabulous job for this series over the last couple of years. These Lola chassis have been not only the mainstay, but they've just been absolutely remarkable. They're extraordinarily well put together. They're reliable. They've just done a fabulous job for this series, and in many ways it's going to be sad to say goodbye to Lola at the end of next season, I should hasten to add. Not until then. It's 2007 the new package will come into effect, but I know a lot of exciting thoughts for the 2007 season with those those cars, and it's a new package, so it's smaller, lighter, trying to promote even more overtaking in this championship for 2007. But it has to be said, Scott Maxwell, this has been a pretty exciting race this afternoon. There's perhaps not been many overtaking manoeuvres for the lead, but all sorts of battles going on back down the pack.
Oh, the midfield battle is great. Unfortunately, I think the incident at the start when we had Oriol and Dominguez and D'Amata, that sort of robbed us of some of the excitement. And then, of course, with Tracy having the engine problem, we assume it was an engine. I think that was Bourdais' only challenger for the victory. Bad luck for Paul, but taking nothing away from Sebastian, who's just really dominated this race.
Watching here, this is Justin Wilson now shown in 5th place. So Tagliani with a fabulous charge back through the pack, able to get that final pit stop in, and is rejoined in 4th place. So it's Bourdais, Allmendinger, Vasser, Tagliani and Wilson. We're watching Justin Wilson in 5th place, looking at another top 5, and again a good season, as you were saying earlier, for the lanky Briton. He's 6'5" tall. It's a real squeeze to get him into these cars, but he's done a fabulous job all season long. A little bit of consistency lacking, perhaps. Not really consistency, but through the beginning of the middle stage of the campaign, it really did look like Rousport had everything they needed to challenge Newman House Racing. But it has to be said, the last 3 or 4 races, they haven't been relatively quite as strong.
Yeah, when they're on, but they do have their off weekends, and I think that's just down to it's a new team, a lack of experience. They don't have that book that Newman Haas or Forsythe have on car setups and whatnot, but next year they're just going to be stronger than they build on the momentum they built this year.
And Justin Wilson, we believe, is going to have to make one more pit stop. Yeah, here he is. He is in the pits right now. So he was another of the guys, like his teammate AJ Allmendinger, praying for that late caution that would negate the need for this final splash and go of fuel, but that's not the case. So Justin will give up that 5th place. We'll have to wait and see how far he falls down the order, but certainly he will now rue that incident he had when he was trying to teach a lesson, it appeared, to Marcus Marshall. He tapped him on the far end of the racetrack, had to make a pit stop shortly there afterwards, and that could have cost him, certainly cost him quite dearly, because up until then he was on the same pit stop strategy as everybody else, but coming in with 23 laps to go, he wasn't able to stretch that fuel load to the finish. So Wilson is now into the pits as the leader is on his final lap. Watching there, that is Marcus Marshall, who's running in 11th place, 1 lap down to the leader, and here is the race leader. Just 1 more lap to go. That is Andrew Ranger ahead of the race leader. Ranger in 10th place. He will have been praised that the leader is right behind him, but for Sebastian Bourdais, no rush at all, no need to overtake that slower car, Scott Maxwell.
Yeah, unless Andrew waves him by or whatever, Sebastian's better to sit behind him and take the finish, but he's catching him pretty quickly. And Andrew's had a quiet day, but a solid 10th place finish, looks like, for Andrew. And that's a good way he's had a rough couple of races, and this is a good one for him to finish. Yeah,
good confidence builder to get towards the end of the season. Just 1 race to go in Mexico City in 2 weeks' time. But this man is on cruise mode, but he's still driving absolutely beautifully. Sebastian Bourdais hasn't put a wheel wrong this afternoon. He was beaten out of the first corner by Paul Tracy, but he was patient. He saved fuel. He went 1 lap further on the first pit stop than his rival Paul Tracy. He came out in the lead and has not looked back. He set the fastest lap of the race by a considerable margin, and he's way out in front and cruising along now. It's just 3 corners to go for Sebastian Bourdais. The blue flags are being waved for Andrew Ranger, but I'm sure Sebastian will just, it looks like he's throttled right back there coming into the corner. Listen to the crowd there, they're waving their appreciation and a sign of acknowledgement from Sebastian Bourdais as he comes across the line. 57 laps completely, just coasts slowly across the line. An absolutely exemplary performance, and this Newman House Racing team every right to be absolutely delighted.
A perfect drive, that's what you would call that today. No mistakes. He didn't panic when Tracy got the lead, and he did everything that was asked of him.
And here's another guy who's done everything he's asked of him this afternoon. AJ Allmendinger will come home with the second place finish of his young career. He's in his 2nd season of Champ Car Racing. He's finished 2nd in Milwaukee earlier this season, also in Cleveland. And there's the obligatory celebratory donuts by Sebastian Bourdais. And again, just a brilliant job. And the last part of this campaign, just an amazing record. He's completed every lap bar one this season. He's finished all the races among the top 6. The last 6 races now, he's been either first or second. Just amazing. I mean, you cannot have, there are not too many superlatives to describe the performance of Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah, he is just so calm in the race car. He shows quite a bit of emotion out of the car. He can get a bit frustrated and a bit of a temper out of the car, but in the car, faultless.
It was Kenny Seaweck there on the radio congratulating his man, and we saw a quick glimpse earlier on of Craig Hampson, his race engineer, and his whole Newman Haas team is so close-knit. All of these guys have been with that organization a long time, and that familiarity really does pay dividends over the long run.
I think that's 5 years in a row they've either been on pole or won the race here in Surface Paradise. They have this track figured out.
They do have this track figured out. You can see that car just looks so stable all the way through the race. They've just got the whole suspension package just working absolutely perfectly. But it's been a great drive by Bourdais. He comes away with win number 6 on the season, and it's second place this time out for AJ Allmendinger. Jimmy Vasser came home in 3rd place. There is JV, and this may or may not be his final season in the Champ Car World Series. He's making noises he may or may not step out of the cockpit at the end of the year, but I have to say, you know, he's done a super job. He's been generally certainly on the same pace, if not quicker, than his teammate Cristiano D'Amata. And Jimmy will say, you know, he reckons that Cristiano is one of the best drivers out there, if not the best. And so he's keeping pace with him. And a lot of people said to Jimmy, hey, if that's the case, why even think about retirement?
It's like a second wind for Jimmy. He's had a great season, like you say, keeping up with Cristiano, out qualifying quite regularly, and what a great result today. 3rd place for Jimmy, and moves him up in the standings, I believe, and a good finish to the season for him.
An excellent run by him, and there's Sebastian Bourdais. Well, more croissants, it looks like. He's certainly, he's brilliant during the race, but he doesn't get the donuts right. So we've seen him in the past, he's struggled to complete the donuts.
His
it looks like
first mistake of the day right there.
Not a bad time to make it, though. All the hard work is done. And the bad news is he's going to take a while now to get back to the pit lane, and hopefully we're going to have a word with him before we go off the air, but it's going to be a while before they can get that car underway again and get it back to the pits. Looks like he's going to vacate the premises and hitch a ride back to the pits, but I guess if you're going to make a mistake, this is the time to do it. Run down the order for you then. So Sebastian Bourdais, AJ Allmendinger, Jimmy Vasser rounds out the podium. Great result for him. Alex Tagliani, particularly given the fact that he bumped off his teammate Will Power halfway through the race. Boy, there's redemption there, and that'll go down a long way. A great result for Team Australia, and Alex Tagliani to come home in 4th place. He'll be thrilled with that, or probably more relieved, actually, Scott Maxwell.
Yeah, I think at least now we can go back into the pits with a bit of an argument that he had a good run going. He had to get by his teammate, and controversial maybe, but a good run for Alex.
Indeed, and Oriol Servia rounds out the top 5. There is Jimmy Vasser getting the congratulations of his crew. Timo Glock, again the top rookie, in 6th place, and that will tie up the Roche France Rookie of the Year title for this very talented German, just 23 years of age, and he's really shown his class for Rocket Sports Racing this year in the Champ Car World Series, and comes away with a well-deserved Roche France Rookie of the Year title. Justin Wilson finishes 7th as a result of that final splash and go. Ronnie Bremer and Ricardo Sperafico for Dale Coyne Racing, both cars in the top 10, and Andrew Ranger in 10th place. And there's JV with Kevin Kalkoven.
Jimmy Vasser, what a fantastic day for the entire PKV team. I know Kevin Kalkoven and some of the team executives are here with you. The strategy ran perfectly.
Yeah, it really was pretty straightforward, and with the big wreck in the front, and then kind of great job by the PKV crew in the pits on the Gulfstream car. I mean, it was easy flying today, but you know, I don't know what the pace was at the front. When I finally got clear, I thought I was running pretty good, but I never saw those guys.
Jimmy, everybody here on the Gold Coast this week, we love having you here. We know what a great racer you are. Everyone's questioned whether you would maybe come back as a driver again next year. Situations like this must make you want to come back.
Well, I never really want to leave. It's a hard thing to think about, giving the keys to your car to somebody else to drive, and but we're gonna evaluate it over the winter and come up with a decision. There's a lot of great candidates, but you know, I think there's still a little life left in the old dog. But you know, you got to give it up sometime. So we're gonna evaluate.
Congratulations! What a great day at the office for Jimmy Vasser.
Thank you very much.
Get going.
Jay Elmendinger, you have to be happy. Last year an 8th position, this year 2nd. Good improvement.
Yeah, I mean, Roossport did a great job all weekend. We fought. Initially, the car wasn't that good, and at the end, the car was awesome. I mean, having Intel on the car, TDK, Acer, I think that's a little bit boost of confidence. But you always gotta get some Red Bull too.
Well, I've got to say the name's pretty big now amongst this Champ Car Series. Everyone's really looking at you for the future.
Well, we gotta stop one team right now. That's Newman Haas. But every weekends we're really close, and some we struggle a bit. But it's our 2nd year. They've been doing it for what, 100 years or something like that. Isn't that how old they are? So I mean, it's awesome. This is awesome. Surfers Paradise, Australia. Couldn't be better than that.
Well done, AJ.
Thank you.
So thanks, Darrell Beattie there, the former motorcycle star, having a word there with AJ Allmendinger. And there is Sebastian. He hasn't made it back to the pits yet, but there's a massive crowd on hand here. Wherever he stopped, he was going to have somebody to acknowledge the job he's done this afternoon, Scott.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be hearing from Sebastian at any time he gets back to the pits. It'll be dark again.
So we've had instances here in Surfers Paradise. There's Kevin Chambers, the overall crew chief for Newman Haas Racing. He used to be the chief mechanic on this car. He now oversees the whole crew for this team. And again, there's Kenny Seawick. Just a great organisation. They've done everything right, and they have got that car going again. So hopefully we will hear from Seabass, and he'll be able to reflect for us on what it means to win, clinch the 2nd championship in a row in this style. I mean, he's just been absolutely amazing. His statistics are just unprecedented in the history of the sport. He's coming into this weekend. It was 15 wins from 43 starts. That's a 35% win average. Just unbelievable. 23 podiums, so 53% of his starts he's been on the podium. Just unmatched in not only in Champ Car history, but in motor racing history, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be hard for anybody to beat that record. And wasn't it great to see how happy AJ Allmendinger is? He's so full of enthusiasm. Obviously a star of the future, and Roossport are just getting stronger and stronger. And Jimmy Vasser, you can tell that guy has not decided what his future is. If he has more races like this, we may be seeing more Jimmy Vasser next year.
No doubt. I had a long chat with Jimmy actually last weekend, and he certainly hasn't made up his mind as yet. As clearly as he said, there's plenty of life left in that old dog, and it's been a great run for him, but it's Sebastian Bourdais, the man. There is the Vanderbilt Trophy. That's what they're all here for. What a historic trophy that is. It's been in this sport for over 100 years, and just it goes to the Vanderbilt Trophies back on Long Island in the very early 1900s. Just so much history. Great to see that trophy back in the sport. And for Sebastian Bourdais, he clinched the championship 1 year ago, and Gilles de Ferran was the last man to win 2 championships in a row. That was in 2000, 2001, and now he joins some very illustrious company. There's Steve Johnson there with the white shirt. He is the new president of the Champ Car World Series, stepping in for Dick Eidwick, who's taken the chairman's role nowadays. Taking a little bit of a backward step, but Dick has done a great job for this sport over the last couple of years, and now Stephen Johnson will carry that on, and this is certainly a fabulous moment for Sebastian Bourdais, and of course for Carl Haas. This will be the 6th championship for Carl, and it's the first time one of his drivers has won 2 championships.
Champ Car here for the 2nd year in succession. He will be presented with the Vanderbilt Cup. Here is Steve Johnson, the president of Champ Car, to make this presentation. What a wonderful drive today. What a great season by the Newman Haas team. And this man in 2004 and again in 2005 is the series champion. He is delighted. Craig Hampson and all of the engineering team have done a marvellous job. A great succession of poles and wins throughout the year, and that's netted Sebastian this trophy. The Flying Frenchman has done it again in 2005. We'll try and get a word with him in just a few moments. Come down, Sebastian. Sebastian, what a great day. And what a tremendous performance by this team. Things went like clockwork for you today.
Yeah, I was really annoyed about the start, really. It wasn't supposed to be like that. I was expecting Oriol to kick off a lot earlier than that. We had a plan to kick off early, and I don't know why, but I saw the guys behind closing on me, so I just I just matched my speed with Oriol and got the jump, and I think I used the push to pass. He didn't. It was just a mess. And when I got out of this chicane, PT was in front. I couldn't believe it, and Oriol was nowhere to be seen. So it was just terrible for the team. So in the end of the day, just the result swaps around, and that just well deserved for this New Manas organization.
I know everyone watching at home back in Le Mans in France will be enormously proud. 2 years in succession you have won this title. Let's look ahead. What about 06 and beyond?
Well, we I think are very, very close to be back in this McDonald's car #1, so we'll see.
What a great year. Sébastien Bourdais, the champion in 2005, 2 years in succession, and well done to the Newman Haas outfit, a 1-2.
So again, just a great thanks, Greg Russ, for bringing us that interview with the successfully recrowned Champ Car World Series titleist, and that is amazing. It's a 31st win in the last 65 races for Newman Haas Racing, dating back to this event in Surfers Paradise in 2001. 31 wins in 65 races. It's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Ferrari in Formula One, Newman Haas in Champ Car, same thing. What I found interesting there a bit of controversy. Obviously, Oriol and him had a plan at the start, and Sebastian, Oriol changed the plan without telling Sebastian about it. You can tell he's still not too happy about that.
That's right, but he kept his emotions in check clearly when they get on the race. And there is Craig Hampson, that's his race engineer, and it's that relationship between Craig Hampson and Sébastien Bourdais that is hugely crucial in his success. There's his girlfriend Claire. He's just had a great day for Sébastien Bourdais.